Look closely at this footage. You're watching a cluster of pixels vaguely shaped like a car, swerving through a flat, top-down city. This is the original Grand Theft Auto. It was visually crude, technically limited, and built by a very small team. Back in the late 90s, the video game market was completely flooded. Thousands of independent games hit the shelves, and most of them vanished silently. Without a massive marketing budget to buy magazine spreads and television spots, a new release was practically invisible. This was the exact reality facing a small Scottish studio called DMA Design. They had a niche game and practically zero marketing capital. They were up against a massive mathematical problem. How do you generate global visibility when you can't afford to tell anyone your product exists? As it turned out, they didn't need to pay for marketing. They just had to sit back and watch the mainstream media and government accidentally run a global PR campaign for them. When the mainstream press discovered a game where you played as the criminal instead of the hero, they immediately stripped away any nuance. Television anchors weren't interested in reviewing a piece of software. Their goal was to maximize shock value for their viewing audience. The press quickly manufactured highly marketable buzzwords. They branded it a murder simulator and warned parents it was actively teaching kids to steal. This is a textbook example of a moral panic. A moral panic is a sociological phenomenon where the media deliberately generates fear around a poorly understood topic, knowing that public outrage reliably translates to highly profitable ratings. By focusing relentlessly on the violence, the media actually gave the developers a massive advantage. Because the news anchors were so angry about the game's morality, no one mentioned its actual technical flaws, its clunky controls, or its outdated graphics. This relentless cycle of negative press handed DMA Design exactly what they couldn't afford to buy: global, laser-targeted awareness. The studio's visibility problem was solved overnight. The outrage quickly escaped the tabloids and crossed into the political sphere. Lawmakers took to the floor of the British House of Commons, escalating the conflict from a local media story to a matter of national importance. For a politician, denouncing a controversial video game was an incredibly appealing strategy. It required zero actual policy work, yet it provided a guaranteed, bipartisan opportunity to look tough on crime in front of voters. The panic eventually jumped the Atlantic. Powerful U.S. government officials organized formal congressional committee hearings, spending federal resources attacking a low-resolution game. Without realizing it, these lawmakers were acting as high-level PR influencers. Their parliamentary debates and televised hearings served as a massive free amplification campaign. The politicians and news anchors completely misunderstood the underlying psychology of the teenagers they were trying to protect. By attempting to crush the game, they triggered the Streisand effect. The Streisand effect is a behavioral loop where attempting to censor information directly guarantees it will spread even wider. Every angry news broadcast or political ban sent a clear signal to teenagers. This was a forbidden, taboo product they needed to acquire immediately. Consumers who previously had zero interest in a top-down driving game suddenly experienced a massive shift in behavior. Their apathy was replaced by an intense, rebellious desire to play the exact thing adults were trying to take away. The coordinated attempts to destroy the game were the precise mechanism that ensured its total dominance over its target demographic. This chart reveals the immediate financial aftermath. The game starts with a flat baseline of normal retail sales, but right at the media panic marker, the line spikes vertically. That data spike translated directly to empty physical shelves. Major retail stores globally completely sold out of their inventory to keep up with the sudden massive influx of demand. If DMA Design had been forced to purchase that sheer volume of television airtime and newspaper column inches as traditional ad space, the cost would have easily run into the tens of millions of dollars. The financial return on investment from this manufactured outrage heavily outperformed any traditional marketing campaign the developers could have executed themselves. The financial success of that very first panic permanently shifted the studio's long-term business philosophy. When the company evolved into Rockstar Games, they adopted a new model. Cultural controversy was no longer viewed as a liability or a risk to be mitigated. For the next 2 decades, it operated as their primary marketing strategy. So the next time the modern news cycle locks onto a target, look closely at the mechanics of the outrage. Look beyond the surface anger of a coordinated moral panic. manufactured media outrage is rarely about actually protecting the public. Instead, it almost always functions as an incredibly effective, unpaid advertisement for exactly what it's attacking.